Listen up, because what I'm about to tell you is the craziest thing that's ever happened to me, and it all started with a simple math test. The classroom was quieter than a library on a Sunday afternoon, and every single one of the 30-plus kids was looking straight at me. The final exam papers for geometry were being handed out, and every eye was fixed on Audrey Baker, the new kid who just arrived in this small-town American middle school about 4 months ago. I was still an alien, you know? The language, the customs, even the obsession with those pocket calculators in math class, it was all foreign to me. But I was determined to make this place, Greenwood Middle School in Ohio, my home. Suddenly, Mr. Harrison, my geometry teacher, a guy famous for his strictness and his love for those little plastic number crunchers, stopped right at my desk. Time just seemed to stop. Audrey Baker, he pronounced my name slowly, like it was a foreign word he was tasting for the first time. You told me you did this test without a calculator, right? I managed a tiny nod. My heart was pounding like a drum solo, and my cheeks felt like they were on fire. The score, 100 points, was written on my paper in thick red ink. A perfect score. But what choked me up more than the number itself was the look of pure suspicion in Mr. Harrison's eyes, and the low, buzzing chatter that was starting to spread across the room. I'm genuinely curious how you pulled this off, Mr. Harrison's voice dripped with sarcasm. This test had 10 problems with up to 4 decimal places. Every other student used a TI 84. You're telling me you did all of this in your head? From the back, a guy named Chad Miller snickered. No way, man. You can't tell me anyone can solve that junk without a calculator. That's just ridiculous. The whispering ratcheted up. It's sketchy. They're giving the transfer student special treatment, one girl, Maddie Tate, muttered loudly. She definitely saw the answers ahead of time. The only warmth in that freezing room was the concerned look from my only friend, Sophia Rodriguez. Audrey, care to explain? Mr. Harrison took a step closer and folded his arms. You didn't happen to get a peek at the problems beforehand, did you? That hit me like a sharp punch to the gut. I hadn't done anything wrong, so why did I feel like a criminal? I moved here from Japan to this small American town, Fairview, Ohio, about 4 months ago, and everything felt new. The sound of the English names, the noisy hallways, the dependence on calculators in math class. But one thing hadn't changed, the mental arithmetic my dad taught me since I was a little kid. Numbers are like music, my dad used to say. Find the rhythm, and they'll flow naturally. Every night at the dinner table, he would give me problems, and I'd crunch the numbers in my head without ever touching my fingers. That was my normal. But here, that normal was being treated like a serious crime. Come with me to the faculty lounge, Mr. Harrison said, his voice cold as ice, snatching my test paper. I want a detailed explanation of your methods. The room erupted. A perfect score from the new kid? No way, Maddie Tate's voice pierced the air. You can't do that without a calculator, period. Chad Miller chimed in. They say Japanese people are good at math, but this is insane. Total cheat. Outside the window, the sun was shining bright in the April sky, but my insides were turning to ice. This is what it feels like when your pride becomes a crime. I didn't even get the answers wrong. Yet, I felt like my very existence was a mistake. As class ended, Sophia quietly came up to me. Audrey, are you okay? Everyone is being such a jerk. Yeah, I'm fine, I lied. Walking down the hall, my mind was spinning. Why was the ability I was praised for back home suddenly a source of suspicion here? My dad's words suddenly echoed in my head, Audrey, when people doubt your ability, it hurts. But if you can prove it, that ability becomes a weapon. My feet felt heavy heading to the faculty lounge, but a tiny flame of defiance was starting to burn inside me. Did I really do something wrong? That question was about to turn into a certainty. I stood outside the lounge door for a full 10 minutes. The sounds of keyboards and teachers' chatter leaked through the crack. It all looked so normal, but I felt like I was about to stand trial. Knock knock. Come in, Mr. Harrison's voice boomed. I sat on a stiff chair as he spread my test paper on the desk, looking like a detective examining evidence. Problem number 3, 247, 68 by 15. 4. The answer is 3,814. 272. Accurate to the third decimal place, he stated flatly. Problem number 7, 1089, 6 divided by 24. 8. The answer is 43. 935, perfect again. The only sound in the quiet room was the ticking of the wall clock. Audrey, be honest with me. Did you really do all this entirely in your head? Yes, my voice was small, but steady. Show me then. He abruptly started writing a complex problem on the whiteboard. Solve this. Right now. No calculator. My heart hammered, but I couldn't back down. This was the real test. I looked at the numbers, and the method my dad taught me came flooding back. The numbers started dancing in my mind. A few minutes later, I spoke the answer. Mr. Harrison grabbed his calculator and checked. After a tense silence, his expression shifted slightly. It's correct. But he wasn't done. He slapped another, even harder problem on the board. I still don't believe it. One more. I took a deep breath and started calculating again. The suspicious looks from the classroom, the whispers, they all flashed through my mind. But then, my dad's smiling face appeared. Audrey, don't be afraid of the numbers. You control them. When I gave the answer to the second problem, confusion clouded his eyes. It's correct again. Just then, Ms. Davenport, another teacher who used to be a research scientist, was quietly watching me from the corner of the room. I had no idea that she was recording my calculation on her smartphone and sending it to someone. I was working through the problem, seeing the complex calculation like a stack of dominoes I could mentally knock over. I saw 247. 68 split into 247. 68, then multiplied by 15. 4. I kept everything organized, step by step in my head, finally scribbling 3,814. 272 on the answer sheet before moving on. All around me, I could hear the clack 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 of calculator buttons. Chad Miller looked like he was already done with the fifth question. I felt a spike of panic, but then Dad's voice was right there in my ear. Audrey, it's not about speed. It's about accuracy, always. The problems kept getting tougher. Number 11 was a doozy, 1,089. 6 divided by 24. 8. I went backward, calculating backward to nail down the answer to the fourth decimal place. I got 43. 935, question 17 involved a complicated root calculation. Step by step, I broke it down in my mind and got the final answer. The last 8 minutes of the time limit were ticking away. I was finishing up the 28th problem, moving to 29 and 30. The last one was especially brutal, a mess of multiple calculations that would take ages even with a graphing calculator. I took a huge gulp of air and started splitting the problem into its smallest parts. Dad's voice again, it looks complex, but it's just combinations of the basics, kiddo. The bell to end the time limit finally rang. I dropped my pencil after scribbling the final number. Did I get it right? My heart was absolutely racing. When the results came, the room was dead silent. Mr. Harrison grabbed the microphone and read out the rankings. Third place, Madison Tate, 27 correct. Second place, Chadwick Miller, 29 correct. Chad let out a small groan, clearly disappointed. And the first place winner, with 30 problems correct and a perfect score, Audrey Baker. The classroom was quiet for a beat, then exploded with applause. Sofia Rodriguez jumped up from her seat and shouted, "You crushed it, Audrey. That's incredible." Chad, bless his heart, looked annoyed but gave me a nod. "I gotta hand it to ya. That's seriously amazing." Mr. Harrison's face was totally different now. The suspicion was gone, replaced by a deep, thoughtful frown. "Audrey, you did a fantastic job. But this isn't the finish line. Next week is the regional math tournament in Indianapolis. I'm putting you up for the recommendation. I was stunned. Mr. Harrison is recommending me? But his voice still held a bit of caution. However, Audrey, you seriously need to consider using a calculator. The regional tournament is a whole different beast. Everyone else will be using the newest models. I answered quietly. Mr. Harrison, I want to stick with my method. He paused for a second, then nodded. All right. But the pressure is going to be intense. Get yourself ready. After the competition, Ms. Davenport came over to me. She was that former scientist who taught science and advanced math. Audrey, your performance today was spectacular. Her smile was warm. I actually recorded your calculation process and sent it to a colleague at NASA. They were really interested. NASA. My eyes went wide as saucers. NASA? The space people? That's right, she confirmed. Your mental calculation ability is truly unique. On space missions, there are times when calculators or computers aren't available. A skill like yours is invaluable. Ms. Davenport gave me her business card. I want to talk more about this. That night, I looked at a picture of my dad. Dad, NASA is interested in me. Can you believe it? He was smiling, warm as always. I grabbed my number cards and started practicing. For the regional tournament, and to prove to everyone what my dad taught me was the real deal. Ms. Davenport's words stuck with me, NASA is interested. I never could have dreamed that big. But Mr. Harrison's cold voice was also still there. Use a calculator. That's fair. I wanted to stick to my way. But maybe if I had used a calculator like everyone else, I wouldn't be stared at or suspected so much. Lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling. Everything since moving to America had been a struggle, being laughed at for fumbling my words in English class, eating lunch alone in the cafeteria. But math class was the one place I belonged. Numbers transcended the language barrier and culture shock, giving me freedom. So why was that freedom being threatened? On the bus ride to school the next morning, Sophia sat next to me. Audrey, I'm so stoked for the regional tournament. You are totally going to win. Her cheerful voice lifted my spirits a bit. But I was honest. Sophia, I'm scared. If I mess up, everyone will think I'm even weirder, right? She squeezed my hand. Audrey, you already proved yourself. You beat Chad in the school contest. Everyone respects you. At least, I do. I managed a small smile. She was my first friend here. She was always so kind to the nervous new kid from Japan, and because of her, I was slowly getting used to this new world. But when we arrived at school, the whispers started again. Audrey's going to the regional contest. Without a calculator. Is she trying too hard to be special or something? Maddie Tate's voice was the loudest. Japanese kids always get special treatment. I bit my lip. Trying too hard to be special? No. I was just honestly solving problems the way my dad taught me. During math class, Mr. Harrison walked in, looking a little more tense than usual. All right, class, I want to talk about next week's regional math tournament. We have 3 representatives from our school, Audrey, Chad, and Maddie. The class hushed. Chad raised his hand. Mr. Harrison, is it true Audrey is going without a calculator? The regional level is nuts. She absolutely can't do that without a calculator. The class snickered. Mr. Harrison frowned slightly but answered. Audrey chose her own method. That's her way. He looked at me. However, Audrey, Chad is right. The competition is fierce. Don't take this lightly. After class, Chad came up to me. Look, I'll be honest. I didn't believe you got a perfect score without a calculator at first. But I saw you at the school contest. You're good, seriously good. But the regional is another level. If you bomb it there, people are going to think you're a complete joke. His tone was challenging, yet serious. I looked him in the eye. Chad, I might fail. But I have to try my own way. He looked surprised for a second, then nodded. Fine. Then I'm going all out too. I'm not gonna lose to you. That night, I got out my number cards again. Dad's voice rang in my head. It's not about solving it fast, Audrey. It's about sticking with it until the end. I started practicing with the cards. 247, 68 by 15. 4 is 3,814. 272, 1,089. 6 divided by 24. 8 is 43. 935, the numbers began to flow through my mind. It felt like Dad was right there with me. Over the weekend, Sophia came over to hang out. We talked while working on some math problems in the living room. Sophia suddenly asked, Audrey, why don't you use a calculator? It would be so much easier. I thought for a moment before answering. Sophia, mental math is my memory of Dad. When I was little, we played number games every night. That was my happy time. Using a calculator, it feels like cheating on that memory. Sophia's eyes widened. Wow. That's a really deep reason. Since everyone uses a calculator in America, your way really surprises people. We use calculators in Japan, too, I said. But mental math is also valued. My dad always said it was important. If you understand the numbers, you can move the world in your head. I laughed. Sophia nodded. That is so cool. Audrey, your way is definitely not wrong. Show everyone that at the tournament. Her words gave me a real shot of courage. But I felt the pressure, too. The regional tournament wasn't just some school contest. It would be filled with kids from fancy math academies and elite private schools. No one would believe that a 13-year-old transfer student like me could win without a machine. On Tuesday, Ms. Davenport called me to the faculty lounge. She gave me a gentle smile. Audrey, how's the preparation for the regional contest going? I'm still a little nervous, I admitted honestly. Everyone else will be using calculators, and I'm worried about being seen as different. Ms. Davenport shook her head. Audrey, your method isn't strange. It's special. When I worked at NASA, I saw many situations where a calculation error could be fatal. When calculators and computers fail, you need people who can calculate in their heads. Your mental math skill shines in those moments. I looked at her, astonished. NASA had those kinds of problems? Yes, she smiled slightly. I actually sent that video of your school contest to my colleagues at NASA. They're very interested. Especially the speed at which you calculate numbers to the 4th decimal place mentally. If you do well at the tournament, I might be able to recommend you for NASA's Young Talent Program. Young Talent Program. My eyes were huge. This was bigger than I could have ever imagined. Audrey, don't feel any pressure. Just believe in your method and do your best. MS. Davenport handed me a math workbook. These problems are similar to the ones on NASA's basic calculation tests. Practice them. When I got home and opened the workbook, the problems were indeed hard. Launch calculations, complex root problems. But I wasn't scared. If I broke them down one by one, using the method my dad taught me, no problem was too difficult. 3 days left until the tournament. I practiced every night with the number cards and the workbook. Sometimes the numbers would get tangled in my head, and I wouldn't get the answer. In those moments, I would look at Dad's picture. Dad, am I doing okay? His smile was always the answer. Audrey, it's okay to make mistakes. The important thing is never to give up. One day, Mom walked into my room. Audrey, you've been working so hard lately. Your father would be so happy. I was a little surprised. Mom didn't talk about Dad often. Since he died, she had been busy working to support me. Mom, I want to prove it at the tournament. That what Dad taught me wasn't wrong. She stroked my hair. Audrey, you've already proven it. Anyone can see how hard you're trying. Her words brought tears to my eyes. I grabbed Dad's cards and started practicing again. 247, 68 by 15. 4 is 3,814. 272, 1,089. 6 divided by 24. 8 is 43. 935, the numbers calmed my mind. The night before the tournament, I stood in front of the mirror and talked to myself. Audrey, you can do this. You're going to prove it with Dad's way. Your way. At that moment, I felt the fear finally vanish. In its place, a burning resolve spread through my chest. I couldn't sleep much the night before the tournament. Numbers danced in my head, Dad's voice echoed, and the whispers of my classmates blended together. I got up early and looked in the bathroom mirror, giving myself a stern talking to. Audrey, you got this, kid. You're gonna prove it with your old man's method, your method. That pep talk lit a small fire in my gut. When I got to school, Sophia was there, bright as ever. Audrey. Mr. Harrison is gonna talk more about the tournament in math class today. I'm so psyched. Her smile made the knot in my stomach loosen a little. But as I walked the halls, I could feel every eye on me. I heard Maddie Tate's voice again. Audrey's going to regionals without a calculator? No way she pulls that off. She's gonna embarrass herself. I just bit my lip. Why was my way such a big deal to them? The mental math Dad taught me was my shield, my superpower. Math class started. Mr. Harrison walked in, looking more serious than usual. We've got 2 days left until the regional math tournament, he announced. Audrey, Chad, and Maddie, you represent Greenwood Middle School. Are you ready? Chad raised his hand, looking smug. You bet, sir. I've been practicing like crazy. My new T-Inspire CX2 is ready to rock. He smirked and glanced at me. How about Audrey? You really think you'll be okay without one? The class went quiet. Mr. Harrison looked right at me. Audrey, Chad's got a point. The regional competition level is brutal. Choosing not to use a calculator is a huge risk. Don't you want to reconsider? I took a deep breath. Mr. Harrison, I have to stick with my method. I need to see how far my father's mental math can take me. The room was silent for a beat. Mr. Harrison looked surprised, but he nodded. Okay. But the pressure's on, kid. No excuses if you bomb it. After class, Sophia patted me on the shoulder. That was awesome, Audrey. Standing up for yourself like that takes serious guts. But Maddie was close by, chuckling softly. Guts? More like total stubbornness. She's gonna be the laughingstock of Indianapolis. Her words stung, but Sophia grabbed my hand. Ignore Maddie, Audrey. She's just jealous. You've got this. I managed a small smile. Sophia was always in my corner. I was in the library after school, tearing through my practice workbook when Chad showed up. He looked awkward. Audrey, listen. I'm sorry about class. I was out of line. I was surprised. Chad was my rival, always competitive. It's fine, Chad, I said quietly. He sat down, sighing. Honestly, I didn't believe your mental math thing at first. Getting a perfect score without a calculator? That's sci-fi stuff. But I watched you at the school competition. You were fast, man, and right on the money. How the heck do you do that? I thought about it. Chad, it's just practice. Since I was a kid, my dad and I played number games every single day. Solving problems with the cards, calculating everything in my head. It was just my normal. His eyes were huge. Every day? Seriously? Dude, I can't do squat without a calculator. Why don't you just use one? It'd be so much easier. I smiled. Maybe. But mental math is my connection to Dad. Using a calculator would feel like letting him down. Chad was quiet for a minute. Man. That's actually really cool, Audrey. Your way's awesome. I'm still gonna try to beat you at regionals, but don't you dare lose. For the first time, I didn't see him just as a rival, but as a teammate. I won't, Chad, I promised, smiling. The following Monday, Ms. Davenport called me back into the lounge. Audrey, how's the prep going? I heard from my NASA contacts again. They want to know more after seeing your video. They want to know more? I was floored. Did I do something special? Ms. Davenport laughed. Audrey, the speed and accuracy of your mental arithmetic are extraordinary. NASA needs to calculate in emergency situations, like when systems fail on a mission to Mars. Your ability could save lives. Save lives? My mental math could save someone? Yes, she nodded. If you perform well at this tournament, I can recommend you for the NASA Young Talent Program. Don't feel pressured. Just believe in your way and do your best. She gave me a new workbook. These are similar to NASA's basic math tests. Try them out. The problems were intense, orbital mechanics and complex root problems. But I wasn't afraid. I knew that using Dad's method, I could tackle anything. 2 days until the contest. I practiced every night. Sometimes I got tangled up and couldn't find the answer. When that happened, I looked at Dad's picture. Dad, am I doing this right? His smile was the answer. It's okay to be wrong, Audrey. Just never quit. Mom walked into my room one evening. Audrey, you're working so hard. Your father would be so proud. I was surprised. Mom rarely talked about him. Mom, I have to prove it at the contest. That what Dad taught me was real. She stroked my hair. Audrey, you've already proven it. Anyone who sees how hard you've worked knows that. Her words made me cry. I grabbed Dad's cards and started again. 247. 68 by 15. 4 is 3,814. 272, 1,089. 6 divided by 24. 8 is 43. 935, the numbers were a comfort. The night before the tournament, I stood in front of the mirror and whispered, Audrey, you can do this. Prove it your way. The fear was gone, replaced by a burning resolve. The morning of the contest, I tucked Dad's number cards into my jeans pocket, my lucky charm. At the breakfast table, Mom said, go show them what you've got, honey. Your dad's watching. I nodded. I won't give up, Mom. On the bus, Sophia squeezed my hand. You can do it, Audrey. You're the best, calculator or not. I laughed. Thanks, Sophia. I'm lucky to have you. At the school, Mr. Harrison gathered us. Audrey, Chad, Maddie. You're the pride of our school. Give it your all. He looked at me, serious again. Audrey, the calculator-free challenge is your choice. Whatever the outcome, you stand by your decision. I nodded. Yes, sir. I'll do my best my way. There was no doubt left in me. Dad's lessons, Mom's support, Sophia's friendship, Ms. Davenport's trust, they were all pushing me forward. The regional tournament wasn't just a contest, it was my stage to prove who I was. When we arrived at the Cleveland Convention Center at 7:30 a.m., I gasped. A huge banner across the 5-story building blazed in the sun, first annual Midwest Regional Math Competition, Finding the Future Einsteins. The 700-seat auditorium was packed. The students wore team jerseys and carried professional calculator cases. I was the only one in a plain shirt and jeans. Waiting in line, the student in front of me nudged his friend. No calculator? That's the mental math kid, right? My badge had a special label, Audrey Baker, Mental Math Challenger. That tag alone drew every eye. The holding room was a different world. The West Point Academy team was in red, reviewing with their coach. Brookside Science School wore blue vests, warming up on the latest calculators. The elite math prep team wore yellow shirts that read Calculation Masters. I shrank a little. Could I really compete on this big stage? Competitors, please proceed to the main hall. The main auditorium was enormous. A huge screen, flashing cameras, and the noise of 700 spectators. My seat was right in the front, with a special sign, Mental Math Challenger, the brave student competing without a calculator. Jenny, a girl from the Brookside team next to me, leaned over. Seriously, no calculator? That's brave. I could never do that. Her voice was friendly but curious. Behind me, the West Point kids were whispering. Is that the rumored kid? She won't last here. Our problems are on a different level. The announcer stepped onto the stage. Welcome to the first annual Midwest Regional Math Competition. The crowd clapped, cameras flashed. Today, we have one particularly notable contestant, the Mental Math Challenger from Greenwood Middle School, Audrey Baker. A spotlight hit me. The crowd buzzed, and cameras clicked. My face was burning, my hands shaking. But then, from the corner of the auditorium, I heard a familiar voice. Go, Audrey, you rock. It was Sophia, who had come with Mr. Harrison to cheer me on. The tension broke a little. I wasn't alone. The problems will now be distributed. You have 40 minutes to complete 25 questions. Begin. The hall went silent. The moment I opened the test, my jaw dropped. This was high school level, easily. Question 1 was a complex, multi-step decimal calculation. The clicking of calculator buttons started, sounding like 100 typewriters. I took a deep breath and remembered Dad's words. It looks complex, but it's just combinations of the basics. Go slow and be thorough. First problem, 247. 68 by 15. 4. I broke it down in my head, 247. 68 into 247. 68, 15. 4 into 10 and 5. 4. I organized the steps and scribbled 3,814. 272 on the sheet. But 8 minutes had passed, and I was still on the first problem. Jenny next to me was already on her fourth question. The calculator click sped up, and panic squeezed my chest. I'm gonna run out of time. I'm gonna fail. Dad's voice again. It's okay to be slower than everyone else, Audrey. Just be accurate. One step at a time. I closed my eyes and focused. Problem 11, 1089. 6 divided by 24. 8. I worked backward, nailing the answer to the fourth decimal place, 43. 935, question 17 involved a complicated root. I solved it step by step in my head. 25 minutes in, the other contestants were close to done. The calculator clicking was a frantic blur. I was only on problem 17, a much slower pace than usual. The problems were way harder than I'd expected. But I refused to give up. I kept working carefully, one by one. 10 minutes remaining, the announcer called. The tension spiked. I worked through 18, 19, 20. 5 minutes remaining. I finished 23, and moved to 24 and 25. Question 24 was a familiar type, I solved it quickly. But when I saw question 25, my heart nearly stopped. It was a monster, a mix of addition, multiplication, division, and complex roots. Without a calculator, it looked impossible. I heard gasps around me. The last one is insane. No time. 3 minutes left. This was my last shot. I almost gave up, but then Dad's final words hit me. The harder the problem, Audrey, the more you need to break it down. No matter how complicated it looks, it's just a combination of the basics. I looked closely at the problem. I started separating the components. It was just a series of basic calculations, after all. 1 minute left, the final 60 seconds. Everything hinged on this last calculation. The numbers flew into place in my head. I finished writing the answer just as the voice boomed, "Time's up. Put your pens down." Did I get it right? I stared at my answer sheet, my heart pounding. 30 minutes later, the scores were tallied. The announcer was back on stage. This was an exceptional competition. Especially the final problem, question 25. Only 15% of our contestants got it right. My heart hammered. Did I get question 25 right? The final rankings were announced. Third place, Jenny from Brookside Science School, 23 correct. Second place, Marcus Johnson from West Point Academy, 24 correct. A fresh round of applause. And the first place winner, with 25 questions correct and a perfect score, Audrey Baker from Greenwood Middle School. Time stopped. The hall erupted with explosive applause. "Audrey, you did it!" Sophia yelled from the crowd. Mr. Harrison was on his feet, clapping, his face a mix of pride and total shock. I walked onto the stage, my legs shaking, but my heart swelling with heat. The announcer handed me the trophy and a microphone. "Audrey, any thoughts for the crowd?" 700 pairs of eyes were on me. But this time, I wasn't scared. I took a deep breath and began. "I didn't choose not to use a calculator to show off," I said, my voice shaking a little, but getting stronger. "This is the way my dad taught me when I was little. The way to be friends with numbers." The crowd was silent. At first, I was worried everyone thought I was weird. But today, I realized something. Being different isn't wrong. It's what makes me, me. You have to believe in your own way and see it through. The applause that followed was huge, warm, and real. I stepped off the stage and headed toward the waiting room. Jenny rushed up to me. "Audrey, I respect you so much. How in the world can you calculate like that in your head?" Marcus nodded. "I gotta admit, that's real talent." It was the first time I felt truly and completely accepted. The next day, Ms. Davenport called me to the lounge. A woman I didn't know was there. "Audrey, it's a pleasure. I'm Dr. Elena Kahn, a researcher at NASA." NASA. I was speechless. Dr. Kahn smiled. "I saw the video of your contest performance, Audrey. Your mental calculation ability is phenomenal. It could be critical for trajectory calculations and emergency scenarios in space missions." I was stunned. My mental math could help in space? "NASA has a program for young talent," Dr. Kahn continued. "We want you to join us. Will you test your skills on the frontier of space science?" I managed a stunned nod. "Yes. Please." Ms. Davenport beamed. "Audrey, you are our pride now. Even Mr. Harrison was talking about you. I think you've made a fan out of him." I went home and looked at Dad's picture. "Dad, NASA. It's like a dream." He was smiling warmly, as always. I took the number cards and held them to my chest. This was my new beginning. The Monday after the regional tournament, the school halls were buzzing. But the whispers were different now. "That's Audrey, the girl who won the regional contest. She got a perfect score without a calculator. That's insane." They looked at me with respect, not suspicion. In math class, Mr. Harrison, surprisingly, smiled before starting the lesson. "I think you've all heard. Audrey Baker from our class won the regional math tournament." The class burst into applause. To get a perfect score, without a calculator, is truly astonishing. He looked at me with a genuine, heartfelt smile I'd never seen. "Audrey, what you showed us wasn't just skill. It was the courage to believe in your own method and see it through. Every one of you has a special talent. Don't be afraid of it. Be proud and nurture it." My heart swelled. I never thought Mr. Harrison would ever acknowledge me like this. After class, Chad came up. Audrey, I'm sorry I doubted you at first. I saw the video. You were incredible. How do you calculate that fast? I laughed. Practice, Chad. And being friends with numbers. He smiled shyly. Man, that's cool. Teach me sometime. Later that week, Sophia excitedly suggested, Audrey, let's start a math club. You can teach your method. Loads of kids would join. I was surprised but moved by her enthusiasm. I'll think about it. That could be fun. I looked out the window from my seat. The warm sun shone into the classroom, and the leaves rustled in the breeze. Everything felt calm, natural, and right. I grabbed Dad's photo and looked at it. Dad, I did it. He was still smiling warmly. The trophy on my desk glittered in the evening light, but the confidence in my heart shined brighter. I took out Dad's number cards and slowly opened them. 273 plus 156 is equal to 429. 384 divided by 197 is equal to 1. 87. With every number I solved, the memories of Dad came back. He hadn't just taught me how to calculate. He taught me how to believe in myself. The courage not to fear what others thought. And the heart to never give up. Mom walked in. Audrey, you have the NASA program to look forward to. Your father would be so proud. Her voice was soft. I can't believe how strong you've become. I held her hand. Thanks, Mom. For always being there. She hugged me. In that moment, the weight of Dad's absence felt a little lighter. He wasn't here, but his lesson lived in me. That night, I looked at the paperwork from NASA, Young Talent Program, for the future of space science. Working with scientists at a NASA lab was a dream come true. I tucked Dad's cards into my bag and whispered, Dad, this is just the beginning. A few weeks later, the math club's first meeting took place. Sophia and I had started it, and more kids than we expected showed up, including Chad and Maddie. I was nervous, but I spoke to them. I was afraid that everyone thought my way was weird. But the contest made me realize that being different isn't wrong. It's what makes you who you are. The students nodded quietly. I pulled out Dad's cards. These are my dad's. Numbers aren't just numbers, they're stories. You all have a special story, too. Find it, and let it shine. After the meeting, Sophia laughed. That was a great speech, Audrey. You sound like a real teacher. I smiled back. Thanks, Sophia. I couldn't have done it without your support. That evening, I looked up at the night sky from my window. The stars were twinkling. The NASA program, the future of space science, it all seemed like a distant dream. But I wasn't scared anymore. Just like Dad taught me, numbers were my friends. And my difference was my strength. I whispered softly, Dad, we'll always be together, right? The starry sky seemed to answer me with the warm smile of my father.